Did you really think you could move your parents into our house without asking me? I asked, my voice shaking with a mix of anger and disbelief. Ryan, my husband of 6 years, looked up from his laptop with a smirk that I had grown to hate. Oh, Amelia, don't be so dramatic. It's just for a while, and besides, you don't really have a say in this. His words felt like a slap in the face. This house, a lovely 2-story home in a quiet suburb, wasn't just any house. It was the home my grandparents had left me, where I wanted to raise our son, Lucas, away from the negativity of Ryan's family. Remember, the house is in my name. I replied, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. Ryan's smug look faded, and he looked uncertain for a moment. Our 2-year-old son, Lucas, walked into the room, and I forced a smile for his sake. He didn't know about the tension between us. His chubby hands reached up for me, and I picked him up, kissing his forehead, trying to calm down. I'm not okay with this, Ryan. Your parents have never respected me or our space. Why now? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Ryan shrugged, which made me even more frustrated. Their family, Amelia. You wouldn't understand. Family. The word echoed in my mind like a taunt. My own family, who ran a small but loved coffee shop in town, had always been my safe haven. The doorbell rang, interrupting our argument. Through the peephole, I saw them, Ryan's parents, with suitcases in hand, ready to invade our life. My heart sank. Fine, Ryan. Let them in, but this isn't over, I said, handing Lucas to him before opening the door. Amelia, darling, Ryan's mother said, walking past me without even looking at me. His father followed, a stern man who had barely acknowledged me since our wedding day. As they settled in, making themselves comfortable in my living room, I felt the familiar sense of being invaded. This was just the beginning, I realized. But as I watched them, something inside me changed. I was done being the obedient daughter-in-law, always bending to their wishes. I went into the kitchen, my mind racing. This was my home, my safe place, and I was ready to fight for it. The next few days became a blur of unwelcome changes. Ryan's mother, Elaine, had a way of making her presence felt in the most suffocating way. She rearranged my kitchen, criticized my parenting, and acted like our home was hers. Lucas shouldn't be eating that, Amelia. It's not healthy, Helene said one morning as I prepared Lucas's breakfast. I held back a sharp response, feeling the familiar sting of her judgment. He's fine, Elaine. It's just cereal, I said, shaking my head. In our house, we believe in a proper diet. You really should learn. Her comments were like needles, each one poking at my patience. Ryan, as usual, was no help, lost in his work and unaware of the growing tension. One evening, as I put Lucas to bed, Elaine barged into his room. He's still not sleeping through the night. You must be doing something wrong, she said. Her words were a blow to my confidence, making me feel like a bad mother. I'm doing the best I can, I snapped, unable to hold back my frustration. Your best isn't good enough. Maybe if you had a real job and some structure in your life. I felt a surge of anger. This is my house, Elaine. You're just a guest here. Don't forget that. Her laugh was cold and dismissive. Oh dear, Ryan never mentioned how out of touch you are. This is his house too, and as his mother, I have every right to be here. The next day, I hit my limit when I found Elaine in Lucas's room, going through his drawers. What do you think you're doing? I demanded, my voice shaking with anger. I'm just organizing. This room is a mess, she said without even looking at me. That's it. I want you out of my house now, I shouted, feeling a mix of anger and desperation. Elaine turned to face me, looking surprised but not sincere. Your house? Oh, sweetie, you're just the wife. This is Ryan's house too, and he wants us here. I stormed out of the room, overwhelmed by thoughts. Ryan's betrayal, Elaine's intrusion, and how they ignored my feelings. It was all too much. I was tired of being pushed around and having my home taken over by people who didn't respect me. That night, as I lay in bed, I started to make a plan. I was going to take back control of my life, my home, and my son's future. Ryan and his parents had crossed a line, and they needed to understand that I wouldn't be their doormat anymore. The fight was just beginning, and I was ready. A few days later, during a tense dinner, Ryan dropped a bombshell. My parents need to stay with us longer. Their house is being renovated, he said casually, as if it were no big deal. I felt my blood boil. Longer? Ryan, we never even talked about them staying here in the first place. He shrugged, avoiding my gaze. It's just for a few more weeks. What's the big deal? The big deal is that your mother treats me like an outsider in my own home. I shouted, my frustration boiling over. Elaine, overhearing us, jumped in with her usual condescending tone. Amelia, you're overreacting. We're family. You should be more accommodating. Their words only made me more determined. I wasn't going to let them walk all over me anymore. It was time to fight back. The next morning, I called my brother Alex, who had always been my support. They're taking over my life, Alex. I can't handle it anymore, I said, trying to hold back tears. Alex's voice was strong and encouraging. Amelia, you need to stand up for yourself. Don't let them bully you. It's your house, so you make the rules. His words gave me the push I needed. I decided to confront Ryan, but this time, I would be ready. I gathered proof of Elaine's overbearing behavior. The messed up kitchen, the disturbed routines, and her constant belittling comments. The day of the confrontation arrived. I waited until Elaine and Ryan were in the living room. We need to talk. Now, I said, keeping my voice steady even though I was furious inside. Ryan looked up, surprised. What's this about, Amelia? He asked. It's about your parents, Ryan. Their constant interference and disrespect for my boundaries have to stop today, I said, holding up my list of complaints. Elaine scoffed. This is ridiculous. We're just trying to help. Help? By undermining me at every turn? By treating me like I don't matter in my own home? I shot back, my anger clear. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. Amelia, they're my parents. We can't just kick them out, he said. No, Ryan. They're guests in my home, and they've stayed too long. Either they leave, or I do with Lucas, I said firmly, my determination clear. The room fell silent, and the weight of my words hung in the air. I saw the realization in Ryan's eyes, but it was Elaine who spoke first. You wouldn't dare, she hissed, losing her calm demeanor. Watch me, I replied, my voice steady with resolve. That night, Ryan's parents packed their bags. As they left, Elaine gave me a bitter look. You'll regret this, Amelia, she warned. But as the door closed behind them, I felt a huge relief. It was the first step in taking back my life, and I was ready for whatever came next. After Elaine and her husband left, the house was eerily quiet. Ryan's attitude turned cold and distant, and he barely interacted with me. I found comfort in the peace of my home and the happy laughter of Lucas. One evening, as Lucas played with his toys, Ryan said, I have to go on a business trip. I'll be gone for a few weeks. His tone was indifferent, as if his career mattered more than our troubled relationship. Fine, I replied shortly, hiding my relief at the thought of his absence. After Ryan left, the house felt different, almost freeing. I began to undo the changes Elaine had made, each small fix feeling like a win. But everything changed when I found a series of emails on Ryan's laptop, which he had left open. They revealed an affair, an ongoing betrayal that hurt more than his mother's denied comments. I was filled with anger, pain, and a deep sense of betrayal. It was time for Ryan to face the consequences of his actions. I started planning carefully, making sure that Ryan and his family would be held accountable for their deceit and manipulation. The first step was to get my financial and legal affairs in order. I contacted a lawyer, explained my situation, and began the process of filing for divorce. Next, I focused on the house, which represented my grandparents' legacy and my independence. I called a real estate agent. I want to sell the house quickly and quietly, I told her. The real estate agent looked surprised but noticed the urgency in my voice. Are you sure about this, Amelia? It's a big decision, she said. I've never been more sure of anything, I answered, feeling strong and determined after the betrayal. The house went on the market, and within days, offers started coming in. The thought of Ryan coming back to find he had lost his control over everything gave me a grim satisfaction. During this time, I reconnected with my family, finding strength in their support. We're here for you, no matter what, my father told me. As I watched Lucas play, unaffected by the chaos around him, I made a quiet promise to protect his happiness no matter what. Ryan's return was approaching, but I was no longer the woman he had left behind. I was ready to face him, equipped with the truth and a plan to take back my life. When the day came for Ryan to return, the tension in the air was thick. I had imagined this moment many times, and although I was prepared, my heart raced as I heard his key turning in the lock. Amelia, I'm home, Ryan called out, his voice echoing through the now changed space. I walked out of the kitchen, standing tall. Welcome back, Ryan. We need to talk, I said firmly. He looked around, noticing the changes I had made. What's going on? The house looks different. I stayed calm. I sold the house, Ryan. It's no longer ours. His face showed shock and anger. You did what? You can't just sell our house without telling me, he argued. It's my house, Ryan. And after what I found out, I don't think you get a say anymore. I replied, my voice calm but filled with anger. He scoffed, trying to hide his surprise. What are you talking about? The affair, Ryan. I know everything, I said, watching as his calm act fell apart. He tried to deny it, but it didn't last long. Amelia, it's not what you think, he begged. I think it's exactly what it looks like. You betrayed me and our family, I responded, my hurt clear in my voice. Ryan went from shocked to angry. You're overreacting. We can work through this, he said. There's no we anymore, Ryan. I filed for divorce, I said, handing him the papers. The conversation turned into a blur of accusations and denials, but I stood firm. The man I had married was gone, replaced by someone driven by selfish desires. As he stormed out, promising to fight the divorce, I felt a mix of freedom and worry. I had taken the first step toward a new life, but I knew the struggle wasn't over. In the weeks that followed, everyone learned about our situation. Ryan's parents, who had been so confident and overbearing, were now caught up in the fallout from their son's actions. They tried to contact me, but I ignored them completely. I focused only on Lucas and finalizing the divorce. When the court hearing day arrived, Ryan looked defeated, finally realizing the gravity of what he had done. The judge granted me the divorce and custody of Lucas, and I felt a sense of justice. Ryan's attempts to reconcile after the hearing were ignored. You made your choice, Ryan. Now live with it, I said, walking away from him for the last time. News of our divorce and Ryan's affair spread quickly, damaging his reputation and relationships. His parents, who had once been proud and judgmental, were now shunned by people who had previously respected them. As I walked out of the courthouse holding Lucas's hand, I realized this was not just an end but a new beginning, a fresh start for both of us, free from deceit and manipulation. The future was uncertain, but it was ours to shape. Life after the divorce felt like coming out of a long, dark tunnel into the light. I had regained control not just of the house, which was now sold, but of my life. Lucas, happily unaware of the adult issues, thrived on the love and stability I gave him. My days were busy but satisfying, focused on rebuilding our lives and managing the coffee shop, which had become my safe haven. Still, the shadow of Ryan and his parents lingered. One day, as I was closing the shop, Ryan appeared, looking disheveled and desperate, so different from the composed man I once knew. Amelia, please, I need to talk to you, he begged, his eyes searching mine for any trace of the compassion that used to be there. I hesitated, feeling a mix of emotions at the sight of him. What do you want, Ryan? I asked, trying to keep my frustration in check. I can't afford the alimony and child support. I lost my job because of the scandal, and my parents, they are broke too, he admitted, his words hitting hard. That's not my problem, Ryan. You made your choices, and now you have to deal with the consequences, I said firmly, closing the door on our shared past for good. As I walked away, leaving Ryan behind, I felt a sense of closure. The journey had been painful, full of betrayal and heartache, but it had led me to a place of strength and independence. Life moved on. Lucas grew up, his laughter and curiosity bringing joy to our home. The coffee shop thrived, becoming a warm, welcoming place for the community. I found happiness in simple pleasures, the smell of fresh coffee, Lucas's giggles, and the support of friends and family. Ryan and his parents became distant memories, their story a lesson on the consequences of betrayal and selfishness. My journey had taught me about resilience and the importance of standing up for myself. As I locked up the shop that evening, I looked at the sky, painted with hues of orange and pink as the day ended. I smiled, holding Lucas's hand tightly. Our future was uncertain, but it was bright. We were moving forward, one step at a time, into a new chapter of our lives.